Hi, hello, and how are you? My name is Starfish, and this is my YouTube channel. It's Asparagus Reading. I talk about books and sometimes other things. Today, I'm going to be talking about 23 books that I want to read in 2023. Hi, future editing Aspasia here. I just wanted to pop in really quickly and say that if you can hear the fire detector alarm thing beeping in the background, I'm sorry. I honestly forgot all about it when I was filming, and it's kind of annoying me while editing. If it does bother you, you don't like to hear that, feel free to skip the video or watch on mute. That is completely fine. I honestly forgot that it was back there, and I completely understand if it's something that you don't want to listen to. Will I be reading these? We'll try. So this is probably filmed in part just because it's 23 books, and also I have other things I gotta do. And so I think right now I'm gonna do all of the physical books, which is right here, and then maybe the next part would be like NetGalley arcs or something. We'll see how this goes. I track my 2023 TBR with a spreadsheet. If you don't know, Allie from Hardback Quarter makes reading spreadsheets. She also now has a movie and TV show spreadsheet, so if you're interested in that, I'm gonna leave the link to her channel, the Etsy where you can get them, and also the video where she does walkthroughs. I usually don't track my releases this way. I'd always just like add them to my TBR on Storygraph and Goodreads and keep an eye out for the ones that I really want. But she has been teasing and talking about this new spreadsheet. I got it to support her. Honestly, fell in love with the spreadsheet. Like, I've used her spreadsheets in the past, but they're not the main thing that I use to track my reading. But 2023 spreadsheet, immaculate. I love it. I'm honestly kind of using it almost just as often as I use Storygraph, and that's like daily, multiple times a day, because I tend to be on there like scrolling the community tab, just checking out my reading challenges, you know, taking pictures, and once I take a picture, I'll add in the title to a certain category, whatever. And so I'm really into that. I'll put the graphic of what it looks like over here. Mine does look a little bit different from the blank version that you would get, just because that I edited mine. I did not want to limit to myself just to 23 because I want more options, and I'm not focusing on 23 releases. It's more just books that I really want to read this year, and that if I don't read them this year, there's a good chance they may or may not be unhauled because a lot of books just sitting here. She does have two spreadsheets. I think one is called 23 books to read in 2023. You can use it as a new release track, or you could use it as a regular TBR. But she also has a 2023 release spread where you can track books specifically released in 2023. With that being said, let's get into the stack. So like I said earlier, right now, this first section, this first video, first part, whatever, it's just going to be like all the physical books. Now, obviously, as you could tell, I organize my bookshelves from read to unread. So if you can see the spine or the cover of the book, I have not read it yet. And if you can only see the pages, like this section here, I've already read it. And so as you get to see that there's a lot of books on here I haven't read. So technically these could also fit, but that's more of my general TBR. Here's what I really hope to get to this year. So the first one is Starfish by Akemi Dawn Bowman. I've talked about this before. It's been on a couple TBRs before. I don't know much about it other than I saw it in a reading vlog by Chloe Bunny. I think they changed that's their new username, I think. And it sounded really interesting. At the time, I know it is very emotional. A lot of people said they cried. It talks about depression, and it goes into like, it's a very heartbreaking but emotional, but also like kind of heartwarming story of an Asian American kind of, I don't want to say like discovering, maybe like reconnecting with their identity and family, and kind of just like embracing themselves. And so I thought that'd be an interesting story to read. Just haven't gotten there yet because it seems to be more on the emotionally heavy, sad side, and I'm not always in the mood to read that. However, this year I think I really want to do that. I do a lot more book recommendations from friends, and I want to try reading more from like YouTubers, because like I do watch a lot of them, so why not try and see? But also just because it has been on my shelf for a while, so I really want to get to it soon. The next one that has also been something that I've talked about more than once and wanted to read for years is Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief, or really just in general this whole series. Honestly, just Rick Riordan in general. I'm not gonna read all his books next year. I think the main ones I want is Lightning Thief and the 5, 6 to come after. I know he just announced something related to this, but I don't know if it's like same series or like a companion. I don't know. Anyways, I have read book 1 and book 2 back in middle school. I can't tell you a single thing about it, like book wise. I know the general things about the series just because a lot of people talk about it, but I don't really know it myself. I've been wanting to reread and get back into this and trying to expand on Rick Riordan's writing because a lot of people really enjoy reading it and really love it, which I haven't done it yet. And now that the new TV show is supposed to be coming out soon, and from what has been teased and what has the author himself has said, it seems really exciting and really good, and I would like to be as caught up and as well read and, you know, into the fandom as possible. To be honest, like my main goal is book 1, but if I could, and if I really, really enjoy it and really, really want to, then I'll continue on with the rest of the series. So if I remember correctly, this series follows Percy Jackson, who goes to this camp, I think it's called Camp Half-Bloods, and that is where he finds out that he's like, does he already know? Or is this something he discovers? I think he discovers that he is a half-blood, a demigod, where like he's half human, half god. I think he's the son of Poseidon, and he ends up going to this camp and learning more about this world, this universe that he didn't really know existed. And next thing you know, he becomes a prime suspect in stealing Zeus's master lightning bolt, and then it's just like this whole quest journey type thing. I'm just really excited to read it. Again, I just want to be caught up in the fandom. The next one is actually going to be more, I mean, I was already interested on my own, but now that multiple of my peers and professors from my university have talked about it and raved about it, I really, really want to read it. And that is True Biz by Sarah Novick. I do believe this is a like contemporary fiction novel. It's kind of heavy, like, wow, okay. Contemporary fiction novel that follows multiple characters, I think, relating to their education in life and their deafness. I think it follows students who are at a school for deaf people, if I remember correctly. And it's really just a story about sign language and lip reading and, you know, the things that may come along with that, such as like prejudices and things like that. I've been interested in learning sign language for years. I just always struggled to really be consistent with it. And then I went to other school. They took out the class because they did not have enough interest. But I'm like, but no, they didn't really advertise it. And by the time they did, it was too late. And then now I'm in my college. They have a club, but I am not always on campus at the time that they have the club. It tends to be like 8 to 8 o'clock at night. I'm not gonna stay 4 hours after classes for that, or commute another 30 minutes, you know? So I am interested. I think I just need to find something that fits a little bit more for my schedule, a bit more consistent. But this one I think I'm gonna be reading this year just because I'm really interested, and also because it really fits into some of the things I'm learning in my classes. So the next 2 that I have here is more for fun. They are both part of a series. They are a duology. They're a set. I'm not really sure if I want to read both this year. I know I want to read book one, but you know. Anyways. And so that is Gilded and Cursed by Marissa Meyer. If you've been around for a while on my channel or Instagram, you know these have been my TBR since before this one even came out. I've had the arc of this since whatever year this came out. Here we are in 2023. This one is out, which is book 2. And Marissa Meyer has already talked about writing her next book. Well, next 2 books are not related to this universe whatsoever. These are a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. And if you know me, you know I love retellings. I love fairy tales, which is really funny because I'm taking a fairy tales class this semester. And I have been participating somewhat in a fan fiction retelling book club called The Story Continues. I'll leave a link to all that down below. I love Marissa Meyer. She's one of my favorite authors, one of my all-time favorite authors. She's like an auto-buy. I think I have almost every single book she's written. Almost every single one, not all of them. And when I heard about this, I was excited. I read some of book 1. I just never finished it. I restarted it, and again, never finished it. It's not that it's bad. I really enjoyed what I read so far. I just never finished it. So now that I have both of them here, I think that'll be a little bit easier to kind of push me, because like, well, as soon as I finish one, I can immediately dive into book 2. But yeah, here they are. And honestly, my interest in this has peaked up a little bit more just because I'm learning about different types of fairy tales, and I'm recognizing and learning new things like the stereotypes and themes and what the morals are, different things like that. And I feel like now that I've taken this class and have more of an understanding education of fairy tales, I feel like it would be really interesting to read this and see what Marissa has done in comparison to those. Now this one, I don't know if it's actually a retelling or if it's original, but I feel like there might be some similar elements just because it is in the fantasy world. They tend to have similar things, inspirations. And book 2 is coming out this year, and that is Belladonna. I think book 2 is called Foxglove. This is by Adeline Grace. I really enjoyed her other duology. I just haven't got to this one. This has gotten mixed reviews. I think it's because of the content. I think if you're looking for more romance, some people have said there's not enough in here. And I think if you wanted more of certain plot, like the mystery, thriller, murder plot, it's people who really like that in their books feel like there's not enough. Which I think is really interesting because I like both of those things. So maybe I'll be okay with the 50-50 split. I've heard people say it's like a 50-50 split and they feel like it's not enough. They want more of each. So I don't know. I guess we'll see when I read it. This follows a girl named Signa who has been kind of bouncing from home to home, family member to family member, just because everyone seems to be dying around her. Poisoning, stabbing, whatever. They just seem to be dying around her. And so Death, for some reason, just seems that he can't get to her. And so I think at some point she realized, like, you know, they're in grave danger, something to do with me. So she decides to, like, work with a stable boy to find the killer who's killing her family, and then also maybe possibly go to Death and be like, what's up, bro? Like, why you killing everybody but not me? What's up? I do believe there's supposed to be somewhat of romance between Death and her. Not really sure how I feel about that, because from my understanding, Death is basically indefinite. He's old as, you know, time. So, and she's probably, what, like 19, as most fantasy stories go. So, I don't know. We'll see when the time comes, when I finally read it. Oh, another fairy tale kind of retelling, but it's not fantasy. It's more like contemporary, and it is written in prose. I'm already currently reading this, and it's We're as good at, We're All... I can never say the title. We Are All So Good at Smiling by Amber McBride. This is a very, like I said, it's written in prose. It's more emotional, contemporary story that follows Whimsy, who is dealing with clinical depression in a clinic. And when she's there, she meets someone named Ferry who seems to have the same magical abilities as her. He could see and understand the same thing that she could see. And when she leaves the facility, she finds out that he is her new neighbor. He lives right next door to her. So they get closer. They discuss their mental health and these fairy tales and different magical creatures and things that they can see. And she questions him because he has wings and horns and all that stuff, but no one else can see that. And they discover that they both have fear of the forest and all this stuff. So it's a very, like, a contemporary story about teenagers with mental health issues and how they go to treatment and recover from that, but also weaving in these fairy tale fantasy magic elements in the story, and I'm really enjoying it so far. And it's written in prose, and it's really interesting. I haven't picked up any retellings just yet. There are subtle nods to them here and there, even like side characters, but from my understanding, these main characters are also from a retelling themselves. I mean, they are a retelling of a fairy tale themselves. So it's really interesting kind of like seeing that. I think maybe now that I'm in the class, because I started this before classes started, I think now that I'm in the class, I'll be able to pick up on that a little bit more. Wow, maybe I should just read a bunch of fairy tales all year, because like this class has really inspired me. Like, I'm taking a disabilities class and a fairy tales class, and the two of those classes, I'm just like, give it to me. Give me all the books with disabilities. Give me all the books with fairy tales. I want it right now. And so the last fantasy fiction story that is in this category of physical books is Our Shadows Have Claws. It's actually more than one story. It's 15 Latin American monster stories. So it's an anthology with different Latin American authors who wrote a short story. I don't know if they're original stories, if they're retellings or whatnot, but all I know is that they're horror stories about Latin American people, creatures, monsters, or in the setting of Latin America. There we go. Really struggling with my English today. I know of some of the authors. I read from Raquel Marie before, really enjoyed it. I read from Micah and Maritza Molite. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. I've enjoyed it. I heard of Clarabelle. I've been to an event with Clarabelle. Enjoyed the conversation. So I'm really excited for this one. This one I think I want to read ASAP because I'm really excited for it, but I also think it would be really fun to read during Halloween. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. But it sounds really fun. Like I said, they're all different short stories. I really can't give you more of a synopsis other than that because there's a lot of stories in here, and I also don't know if anything links together and possibly spoils another one. So the last two for this category, physical reads, are memoirs. The first one is My Story by Elizabeth Smart, which is basically just her telling her story. I believe she's the woman who was kidnapped and escaped, and she's now telling her story of before she kidnapped, while she was there, after, and like how she is now. I just thought this would be interesting to pick up and learn more about her because I don't have a good memory of everything that really happened to her. I think I might have been younger when this all happened, and I feel like it would be good to know about these things because they happen on a daily basis in our society, and just learn and understand more about her. And then, like I said, I'm glad my mom died. Jet McCurdy. Again, this is just like Gilded. Been on my TBR for months. I've read some of it, haven't finished it. It's just a memoir by Jeanette McCurdy where she details and talks about her life as she was a child star in Disney, battling like depression and I believe like eating disorder, and her decision. I think she's like retired, done from acting for now. I don't know if she's ever gonna come back. And it's like how she really struggled during those years, but also taken back her life, and how she's done a lot of reflecting and healing and recovering and talking about different things going on in her life, like such as the adults in power that have taken advantage of her, how she didn't get help, how she was really jealous and frustrated with these things and different systems in place for child stars that aren't necessarily great because they often tend to benefit other people and not the child star who's doing the work. And I was really excited for this because I really enjoy Jeanette McCurdy. I've watched a couple of things she's done after Disney, and I was really sad when I think the show called Between was canceled because I really enjoyed the show. When she announced this, I was excited for it. Completely forgot about it. Then it was just all over the internet because everyone and their mom and their cat and their dog and their fish was in love with it. And now I feel like I'm the very last person on the entire planet to read it. So I'm really excited to read this. I've already started, like I said. I cried just because of her mindset around her mom, because of how her mom is so manipulative and whatnot. And I connected with her a little bit because I could see some of those traits in people that I know, and it made me question my relationship with them. But also I felt bad because I was someone who's really a big fan of the show and really wanted more and was really kind of feeding into the company that was doing these horrible things to her, you know? Like they were, I don't know how to explain it. I just feel bad as the consumer of the product she was making now that I know what was happening behind the scenes for her to make that product, if that makes sense. But yeah, so that is all the physical reads. Again, there are ebook, audiobook, new releases, arcs. I just will be talking about that in the next clip. Let's get into the book. So the first one I have here is A Face for Picasso by Ariel Henley. This is a non-fiction, a memoir biography. This is about Ariel and her twin sister Zan, and their life being diagnosed with Cruzon syndrome, which is a condition where the bones in your head fuse prematurely. And if I remember correctly, they are the first known twins to survive it. And I do believe they have gone through, multiple surgeries. And so that this book, you're reading about their experience going through these different procedures, the recovery process, maybe a bit about their treatment and the diagnosis and the hospital stays and how they feel about the condition, but also how the condition makes them feel. And then the pain and emotional toll coming from the diagnosis, the condition that they have. And so I believe it's supposed to be like a memoir where it really explores the life of having Cruzon syndrome and just, being more open in public about this condition and about different types of health issues, while also just showing Ariel in her life and how she has explored her identity and has come to terms with being comfortable and happy with who she is and not really fitting beauty standards and, you know, loving herself and the resilience and strength it has to go through this and everything else that it entails. So this next one is also on NetGalley, and that is Love Somebody by Rachel Rozek. This is a YA contemporary rom-com. Don't really read as much YA recently, but I do have interest in some of them. I just haven't really been picking them up as much. This is supposed to be about a girl who is becoming good friends with her ex-boyfriend again, and they both start falling for the same person. And it sounds like it's going to be a bit of a messy love triangle, possibly, because it's her ex-boyfriend, who she may or may not still have some lingering feelings for, and he may or may not have some for her, and they both start having feelings for someone else, and then also, who does that someone else like between the two of them? I don't know. I thought it would be cute, and I'm interested in seeing how this relationship dynamic, but also the different sexualities are explored, just because this is something that happens sometimes, especially when you're in such close proximity with the same people over and over. Sometimes feelings that you didn't have before develop. So I'm curious to see how this plays out. I would not be surprised if it goes a certain way, because it is a YA romance. And, you know, there are certain stereotypes and expectations that come with that. But I'll read that whenever I'm in the mood for a romance, and hopefully it goes well. Another one that is also a NetGalley arc. I'm actually currently reading this. Most of the NetGalley arcs on here, or at least on my TBR, are already published. Some of them aren't out yet, but most of them are, just because I procrastinate. I don't know why. I'm scared to read them and to not like them and to have to give a bad review. But out of all the books that I've gotten from NetGalley, I think maybe like 5 or 6 have been bad, and like 25 have been like really good. So like the percentage, the likelihood of that happening is like maybe 1 every 5 books. So I'm like, Sweetie, what are you afraid of? For what? Anyway, so the next one is Cold by Mariko Tamagiya. I'm currently reading this. It's a YA novel, kind of a murder mystery. It follows perspectives of 2 people. Todd Mayer, the ghost of the boy who was found murdered, and it follows Georgia, who is another teenager that has decided to take on the investigation and find out what happened to Todd. And in the process, eventually finds out the connection between her and him. I don't know how I feel just yet. Like, not a lot has happened. Investigation kind of just started. It's going okay. I don't really have much connection to the characters yet. Like I said, it's very early in the book. I'm like 20% through. I don't really know how to feel, because the writing feels intentionally cold and distanced. Well, okay, let me not say that. The writing feels cold and distanced. Like, I'm not given a lot of information about the murder mystery, but also about the characters themselves. And so it feels, like the title suggests, cold. But I don't know if that was done intentionally and something will be like revealed later, or it's just the writing style of the author. Because I'm not really rooting for Georgia to solve this mystery. I really don't understand why she decided to do this, because they're complete strangers to each other, from my understanding. I'm not really rooting for her. You know, like, I don't really, like, nothing's really compelling me to care. So, I don't know. We'll see where that goes. And back on the memoir side of things, I have Don't Look Back by Ashut Dang and Keely Hutton. So this is a memoir, I believe, about Ashut, who had to live in multiple refugee camps after a really deadly attack in South Sudan that left her like homeless. I think her family was also killed in that attack, and so she has kind of been jumping between different refugee camps, And eventually she gets into this program, like through the camp, where she can move to the United States and be in like this host home type thing. And so she decides to leave because, you know, she wants her life, she wants to survive, even though this is going to be a really big culture shock and a really big adjustment for her. And she's in some terms alone. She still wants to have her life. And so I do believe the book is going to explore both before, during the attack, and then after, when she goes to the United States, into this new country to, you know, resettle, I guess, and the different obstacles that may come with that because of the position that she's currently in. I already read something similar to this before, of someone who was in an attack, and I think it's called A Long Walk to Water, if I remember correctly. And they did a really long walk to a different country for safety, to go to a refugee camp. And eventually they were chosen to go to the United States, and they have since been living in the States and really trying to get their life together after such a tragic and, you know, thing happened, and has since been working in other countries to provide for these villages, for these people who are going through this, such as giving them water, giving them food, teaching them like mental product type stuff and all that. And so I'm really interested to see this and see any differences or similarities, maybe to see if this is before or after, maybe to see if maybe this particular person might know of that, or I don't know. I'm just really intrigued by these stories and how life is for other people. And I just feel like this is also very good to learn about what happens in other places of the world, because this could happen to us one day, but also just so you have a better understanding of the world and have a bit more sympathy, a bit more empathy for others, and also just have a different view on things. So now we're going to go into other books that I'm excited for. Here is a 2023 release. I guess we could do that next. And this is Hail Mary by Candy Steiner. This is the 4th book in the Red Zone Rival series, which is a like football college romance series. Very angsty. I've read 1 through 3, 5 stars each. Immaculate. Candy Steiner is incredible. Love all her writing. I think I discovered her 2019, 2020. Haven't had a bad book since then. They're all really good. This follows some characters that were kind of teased throughout the first 3. I believe it's supposed to, there's no description? Oh, okay, there is one. I was about to say, I was like, it comes out like next month. So I do believe this is supposed to follow Mary, who is now going to be roommates with Leo, who I believe is her ex, and also someone she considers an enemy because of something that happened years ago. Oh wait, no, I think they're ex-best friends, not ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, because her current living situation has gone haywire. I believe there's some issues with plumbing and it's flooding and all that. She's now living with him. And, you know, forced close proximity, sports romance, eventually they fall in love. Very interested to see how that goes, because I really liked the conversations and the scenes that they had together in the previous books. Plus, I just like Plus, I just really like Candy Steiner and would really like to continue reading her books. And so another one that is coming out this year that is kind of in a similar boat as Candy is Elsie Silver's Powerless. This is book 3 in her Chestnut Spring series. The past 2-3 books that they've written have been released like a week of each other. I don't know if they do this on purpose or just happens like that, but I usually get both of them and just kind of like binge read both of them immediately because they're both really good. Anyways, so this one is a adult romance, just like the last one, and it is following a hockey player, and I'm not really sure what the female main character does. I just know he's a hockey player. I think she's been in love with him since they've been friends, but it never went anywhere for whatever reason. I'm assuming that'll be explored in the book. And so here she is at her wedding, and the wedding doesn't go well. I think they call off the wedding, whatever the case may be. It just says the wedding is, you know, it's a disaster. It falls apart. And her childhood best friend just comes and saves the day. And they decide to go on this road trip to kind of just like rekindle the friendship, I think. Also just to get away from all the hot mess going on in their life. And in the process, she starts to realize like, he's treating me a little bit more than a friend. What's happening here? Because the past couple years this has not been reciprocated. And I think that is going to be some fun little like close proximity road trip with a childhood best friend, childhood crush kind of thing. Sounds really fun. I'm excited to read it because I've already read some of Elsie's previous books. I really enjoyed it and I really want to read this one. This one does seem a bit different in comparison to the previous two, where the previous two were more centered around the home of the characters, and they were very country and like bull riding horse type. This seems more like we're gonna go out places and do more. So I'm very interested to see like the comparison between the two. Another 2023 release, and it is romance, is Rajal's Resonance by Ruby Dixon. Listen, I know some people don't like alien monster romances. If you don't like that, I'm sorry, but I do, and I do occasionally read them, mainly Ruby Dixon. But this one is part of the Ice Planet Barbarians universe. So what I have learned is that many Ruby's series are actually all part of the same universe timeline thing, and she has posted, I think on Instagram and on her website, like the order to read them in. And so some of her most recent publishings, you can kind of see the links between them. I didn't notice that until like it was pointed out to me, and then I went back and started reading some of the books I've already read. Then you start to see it, even though it's not necessarily obvious. There's certain plot points and things that are mentioned or referenced, and it's like, oh, okay, that was when da 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 da, because it describes this character doing this, which is really interesting to me. Like, I love when an author writes books in the same universe, but they're not necessarily like together. It just, I don't know. It's just, it's great. It's great to me. So to me, Ruby's books have always been very open-ended. Like, there's a possibility of more. And even though she completed the Ice Planet Barbarian series and is almost finished with the, I think it's called Ice Home, which is the companion slash follow-up of Ice Planet Barbarians, I felt like there could have been more. It just felt very open-ended. And here we are. It has been revealed that the next series is going to be Ice Planet Clones, which consists of some characters that were revealed, discovered in the book. Now, I can't give much more than that because this is a companion connection to those other books. Some of these books will spoil events in previous books. That's really all that I can say, because anything else here, I might spoil the other 2-3 books. But I'm just really excited to read this because I really want to learn more about these characters, and I also am very intrigued to see how Ruby plans to expand on this universe even more, because I've got nothing. I'm head empty, and yet every book I'm like mind blown with how complex it is, but also how like very easily read and digestible it is. I don't know, but she seems to have big plans for her series and the world and the characters, and I'm really excited to see where they go. I think there is one more 2023 release that isn't out. After that, all these releases are already out. I think they all came out this year, except maybe one. So one that is coming up is If Only You by Chloe Lees. This is book 6 in her Bergman Brothers series. I read all those recently. They're incredible. I think my favorite, what is it called? Is it Ever After Always? I always get the titles mixed up. It's the blue one with Freya in a bikini, and I believe his name is Aiden. That was my favorite. It's a marriage in trouble. I don't know what it is about a marriage in trouble romance book, but I don't know what it is. It's like a recipe for just 5 stars. I just love seeing a couple who are married, on the verge of divorce or whatnot, and then they are, it just feels like there's big stakes there, because when you're married, you're legally bound, you're emotionally bound. Usually there's been time when you've been together, so you have a house together, maybe you have your finances together. There's a lot at stake there. You're losing a significant person in your life, and so that's gonna be a big hole. Then there's probably kids involved. I don't know, it just seems like a really big stake. Anyways, I love Marriage in Trouble, and I really love the Bergman Brothers, so I'm really excited to continue the series and see all of the siblings in the Bergman family happy and in love. So book 6 was to come out this year. I do believe book 7 will come out as well, maybe like the end of the year. And then I'm just gonna be a happy little person because I read the whole series and I love Chloe Lee's, especially since she just writes like very cozy, warm, soft, heartwarming, bubbly romances with a little bit of spice, but also like you're safe because they're very LGBT and disability friendly, and they're just very like when I think of a book where I can go to and I know I can be safe and comfortable, just get like a hug, Chloe Lee's. So book 6 follows Ziggy, who I believe is in college now, on the soccer team, I think. And I think she ends up having to work with her brother's best friend, who's a hockey player, to help work on his reputation. And they start becoming friends because, they have to work together, and romance. That's all I need to know. I didn't want to know anything about this book just because I want to just go into it and enjoy it the way that I have the previous 5 that have been released. Oh, speaking of, another author that I really enjoy reading and I've been kind of binging is Evie Mitchell. She has recently posted, or not, I think it was posted, maybe it was an email, I don't remember, announced that she's like trying to do like a lot of publishing this year. The past couple years she hasn't been publishing a lot because of her chronic illness and life got in the way. And so I do believe that this year she's trying to catch up. She is self-published and publish all these really exciting stories that she wants to publish. And as far as I know of, she's trying to finish the All Access series and some other ones, and whatever books that come out, I'm excited to read from her. But she's definitely on the list as well. Now, these last 4 books are books that are already at my library. I have them all on hold. I'm all ready. Some of them are 2023 releases, but I think 3 of them are already out, and one of them came out like end of year last year. But these are the last 4 books. So if you're like, when is it gonna end? These are the last 4, I swear. So the first one of those 4 is Sign Here by Claudia Lux. This is a horror, fantasy, mystery, thriller. It kind of like mixes multiple genres, and it follows this guy who works in hell, and I think his current goal is to try to get another person of a particular family to sell their soul. Now, I don't really know why he wants his family, other than maybe the fact that they're wealthy. Maybe they're not great people. I don't know. But he really wants to kind of get them to sell their soul to him. I do believe he takes the opportunity to attempt to do this, get their soul, when the family and some friends go on a vacation. And he starts some plan, but of course not everything goes well. Even in hell, there's always mischief and mistakes and a hot mess going on. I've heard this is really good. I'm very interested to hear how it goes because it sounds like there might be a little bit of comedy in there, and I feel like I don't really read a lot of horror, fantasy, mystery, thriller books, or at least not. I read the other 3. I don't really read horror, so I think this will be really fun and interesting to read. The next one is also a thriller, and that is Just a Nicest Couple by Mary Kubica. So this is about 2 couples whose lives that get kind of linked together after one man goes missing. I believe Jake goes missing. His wife, Nina, thought he's like hanging out with a friend, but he's not. He's missing. Nina's friend, Lily, thinks she has information about it. It literally says she thinks. I don't know why it thinks. I'm gonna need her to be a little more sure, because if he's missing, I'm gonna need you to speak up, sis. Just saying. She thinks she knows information, so she goes to her closest confidant, her bestie, her husband. And the 2 decide that they can't tell anyone what they know about the fact that her best friend, Nina's husband, is missing. So whatever they know, they decide not to say nothing. Now, look. It must be juicy if they don't want to say it. And Nina, of course, is looking for a husband, and I'm sure at some point she's going to be knocking on the door like, you wanna speak up? And so I'm very interested to see how this goes. I saw someone review this. I think it was Haley Hughes. And they were really, whoever it was, I'm not entirely sure if it was her or not, was like raving about this. It sounds really interesting. First of all, I like mystery thrillers. I like murder mystery thrillers. I like watching Investigation Discovery Channel. And it sounds just like that. And also just the drama of the fact that your best friend may or may not know what happened to your husband and doesn't tell you. Oh, say less. Give it to me. Give it to me right now. Another one that is a murder mystery thriller type of book, and that is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. This has just released like last week. I have it on hold. So this story is about a guy named Ernest, or Ernie, or Ern, or E, whatever you want to call him. And he has this family where every single member has killed someone at some point, except him. Wait, no, I think he has. Has he? Yes, I think he did kill someone. I don't really, I have a lot of questions. Now, I don't really know what the story is supposed to be. Like, does it explain who the family are and why they killed someone and what's going on? I don't really know. I think it might be a murder mystery. I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that there's supposed to be like a family reunion at a ski resort, and he's just talking about, and then I don't know, like the description talks about a family reunion at a ski resort, and then it talks about how every single person has killed someone, and I find that very interesting. Like how is every single person in the family a murderer? And please tell me what happened. I'm nosy. Are they in jail? Was it an accident? Was it intentional? Was it a mix? Who was first, and then who followed just because they could? You know, like I just have so many questions that I want answered, and I think the only way to do that is by reading this. And we're just going to end this video with a lighter note. With a, well, is it lighter? Because I heard it's very emotional. Who knows? It's you know, let's just get into it. So it is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I don't think I've ever read a Kennedy Ryan. So this is supposed to be about a couple who are having a very struggling marriage. I do believe they are officially divorced, I think. And so as the two of them are trying to co-parent with their kids and adjust to this new normal, now that they're no longer together, you're kind of seeing what happens. She's seeing her ex seem to be thriving. You know, he's co-parenting, he's running his business, he seems to be falling for someone else. She's kind of struggling a bit, but starting to find her joy again. Like she's in her starting there stage. He seems a bit further ahead. They're kind of getting back together, drawn together, doing well, but also like I think it just really explores a lot of that relationship, what happens after a relationship like this ends, such as what happens with the kids, the emotions kind of tied when you see that person with someone else. In the process, they kind of do explore a little bit of getting back together, the possibility of that, and it's like, oh, you know, those wounds are reopened, but also that they're still thinking about, like, we did separate for a reason. Should we really be doing this right now? Again, I like Marriage in Trouble, but also I just think this is an interesting story to tell. I feel like we don't really see a lot of this. We tend to see more relationships that are fresh in romances, or they're like second chance, not necessarily in this way. And I don't know, I heard you cry reading this just because of the emotions that is expressed. And you know what? I am ready to cry. After all these hard-hitting memoirs and murder mysteries, I think this would be a great, you know, thing to end with. Why not? Okay, so that is all of the books. Was that 23? Honestly, I don't know. I did not count. If it wasn't 23, feel free to call me out, yell at me in the comments, and I'll be sure to... I won't post another video. I'll probably just tell you another book in the comments, but like, oh hey, the other book I'm interested in is this one. Tell me some books that you're excited to read for 2023. Like, is it a new release? Is it an arc that you already have? Do you want to reread? Is it a book that's been on your TBR? Whatever the case may be, tell me about it. Tell me why. And tell me about some of these books maybe. Is there any books in here that you're familiar with? And with that being said, drop a book stack emoji, just because we all know this is going to be a stack of books getting read throughout the year. Hopefully, knock on wood. Hopefully. And yeah, have a good day, good evening, good night, good morning, whatever time it is where you are. Have a great time reading. get hydrated, you know, do all the good things you need to do, but also have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.